So President Lee Jae Myung is in Egypt for the second stop of his 10-day trip to the Middle East and Africa. For more on this, we're joined today by Dr. Bong Young-shik, visiting professor at Yonsei University. Dr. Bong, thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
So President Lee met with the Egyptian president yesterday, and they agreed to cooperate on regional peace and defense ties, right? What are your thoughts on this?
This year marks 30 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries, and tapping on this important anniversary, South Korean President Lee Jae Myung wants to promote mutual cooperation in order to have Egypt as a diplomatic and economic hub in the Middle East and Northern African region. His viewpoint is materialized with the proposal which the Egyptian government signed on, which is the Bilateral Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, SEPA in short. So we are going to look forward to the materialization of these initiatives taken during President Lee Jae Myung's visit to Egypt, which is a new mark of his pragmatic diplomacy. Previous administration of South Korea, used to have their own, focuses. For instance, Moon Jae-in government embarked upon the new Southern policy targeting ASEAN countries with a special summit meeting held in Busan. And the President Lee Myung-bak government focused on promoting cooperation with Middle Eastern and African countries to promote mutual economic cooperation focused on cultivation of natural resources. So different administrations have different priorities in terms of targeting regional hubs. And this time, Lee Jae Myung government appears to focus on Egypt as a hub to cover North Africa and the Middle East.
I see. And they also talked about defense cooperation. And South Korea, already exported K-9 howitzers to Egypt back in 2022. What makes Korean defense systems so appealing to Egypt and other countries in the Middle East?
Well, there's no substitute for reliable quality of the product. In that regard, South Korea's defense equipment industry has time and again proven that its product is one of the most reliable and coveted items in the global military equipment market. The Eastern European market has been and still is a major market for Korea's export of military equipment, but there's no limit for South Korea's export of military weapons in the era of globalization, in which global peace and stability is every country's wish and public good. So in that regard, not only Hana Aerospace exported US $1.7 billion worth of the defense equipments to Egypt, so far including the procurement of K-9 self-propelled howitzer and the FA-50 aircraft and the Cheongong anti-tank missiles. But South Korean government is determined to promote more military equipment exports to Egypt and beyond any country in the region.
Right, and the president also delivered a speech at Cairo University, and he talked about South Korea's vision for the Middle East, and what he said was stability and harmony will be key principles in pursuing peace on both the Korean Peninsula and in the region. How might this help further advance South Korea's relations with Middle Eastern countries?
Well, I pay attention to a part of the message that President Lee Jae Myung delivered to Korean expats during his visit to Egypt, that he was shocked to discover that there is no direct flight from South Korea to Egypt, despite the fact that both countries have so much to offer each other for mutual benefit. So President Lee's visit to Cairo must be the beginning of long-standing commitment by both sides to cultivate human-to-human exchanges and cooperation, as well as we discussed, the military equipment export and import and economic partnership. And it is very notable that President Lee Jae Myung spared his time to deliver a speech at Cairo University, mostly toward the young generation in Egypt, because it is a common practice in the world of diplomacy that foreign dignitaries would address their visions and the message of cooperations to a young crowd when they are making visits to foreign countries. For instance, U.S. President Bill Clinton talked to a university student while he was visiting Beijing, China, when the bilateral partnership was rather strained. And we remember that U.S. President Barack Obama delivered a speech to a university student during his visit to South Korea. And Chinese President Xi Jinping also addressed the message of peace and cooperation to Seoul National University during his official visit to South Korea. It means that Lee Jae Myung government of South Korea is really committed to cultivate promotion between the countries, not in the short term, but in the long run, so that these young people in Egypt will be the main beneficiaries.
I see. Now that he's wrapped up his trip to Egypt, he will be heading to South Africa, so we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Dr. Bong, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.